What's up guys, Phoenix here. This video is going to be an updated Dragunity deck profile for the April 2016 Shining Victories format, and this is also the deck list that you saw me play about a week ago in some DEVpro duel videos, and I'll likely be playing with it again, maybe to just have other videos that are companions to this one going up on this day. But otherwise, I've just recently hit 12,000 subs, and that's actually huge. I never would have thought that I would continue to grow at the pace that I've been growing. Ever since I started doing consistent, channel content from like July of last year. Like the fact that I actually started producing consistent content and actually started growing the channel, and at this current point, I'm now 3 times the size I was when I started producing consistent content, and it took me forever to get to 4K subs, and now I've just gone and literally tripled that in less than a year. I can't help but like just be in awe at the fact that there are people out there that actually like to watch the stuff that I produce. Like, in this sort of volume. It's really cool. And I have to just extend a deeply felt thank you to everyone that has supported me, from the people that supported me all the way in the beginning to all of the new people that have started supporting me recently and been, adding themselves to my subscriber base. Thank you. This wouldn't exist if you guys didn't show your support and do just stuff like that, just to let me know that you like the stuff that I'm doing and all that sort of nonsense. So, all in all, thank you to every single one of you that has subscribed to me, and I plan on continuing to make content for as long as I can foreseeably do so. But basically, this is my updated Dragunity list for the Shining Victories format block. Now, the problem with the April 2016 Forbidden Limited list is that we had Chicken Game completely banned. Now, it would have been a little bit more lenient if Chicken Game had been put to 1, because then you could still have all of these decks that have field spell engines have added utility still in there, in the form of you can turn a terraforming into an extra draw and then go for your field spell if you opened multiple field spells and you clumped. But unfortunately, Konami just outright banned the card, and also Upstart Goblin went to 1, which also hurts consistency for obvious reasons. But essentially, one of the biggest problems Dragunities has always really had ever since Ravine has been legal again is the fact that when you go first, you only have 5 cards, and the boards that you try to put out are not as good as they used to be. They're not nearly as unbreakable of a board as they would have been back in 2011, 2012, 2013 status of the game. Everything is just so inherently more powerful than it's ever been before that basically the route and avenue I decided to take with this specific build was to build for going second, essentially. As you can see, this deck is very, very heavily combo oriented. There are no traps in the main deck. The entire deck's purpose is meant to combo. That is all it's meant to do. But anyway, deck list is triple Dragunity Ducks, 1 Zephyros the Elite, 1 Garuda the Wind Spirit, triple Dragunity Phalanx, 1 Dragunity Armor Mistleton, 1 Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, and then the Hieratic engine of triple Sue, triple Tefnuit, double a set just because it does dictate a normal summon, and you kind of want to stay away from that, but you do want the extra Hieratic names just to be able to have some combo potential with Sue, popping back row, and stuff like that. And also, the potential to go first and have another normal summon that's not named Ducks is also very strong. But the vanillas for the Hieratic engine are the Galaxy Serpent and Labradorite Dragon, both of which are cards of consonance targets, which gives you extra cards of consonance targets alongside Phalanx, all that sort of nonsense. And then since the deck is built for going second, blind 100% of the time, 3 Maxx C in the main. Just because Maxx C is really good right now because of the BA deck and the Cosmo deck. The Fire King Cosmo deck specifically, both decks are inherently weak to Maxx C. If you Maxx C BA, you'll probably get a few extra cards when they make Dante, or if they even go all the way through to a Beatrice. And against Cosmo, if you Maxx C one of their plays, you're likely going to either stop them or get a +1 out of it if they have to, say it was an E-Telly into a tin can. You're going to get a +1 off that play regardless. And if you force the game to be simplified against Cosmo, that's actually in your favor, because you have so many ways to address big ships at this point. And also, against, if BA decks force their way into Beatrice, you definitely have outs to that built into your engine, as long as you draw engine cards because of the way the Hieratics function. But anyway, for the spells, 2 Dragon's Ravine, triple Terraforming, 2 cards of Consonance, triple Hieratic Seal of Convocation, triple Instant Fusion, Foolish Burial, Raigeki for a generic board wipe, which are really, really good right now, actually. Generic board wipes are actually just pretty good right now in terms of the format, just because you have to, disseminate boards and make them simpler. You're trying to make the game as simple as possible, and you're literally just trying to kill them in a turn. I've made this deck try to function like the Mermail deck does, essentially. But it does have capability of continuing play longer than the Mermail deck does if that's needed. But anyway, 2 MST are just the last cards in the main deck. I was playing Twin Twister for a while, But the hands that you have with this deck are actually just very, like, combo piece thirsty. And so Twin Twister, you'd usually end up discarding a card that could have either furthered your combo piece or something like that. So MST, just to hit generic, like, back row as, like, one-offs and stuff, and, like, having Sue kind of sweep up the rest is definitely something that I'm just imperfectly fine with leaving to chance in my games. But anyway, for the extra deck, 1 Norden, 1 Maveless for instant fusion targets, 1 Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. This card is absolutely amazing. This card eats Cosmos up. Like, it just destroys big ships. This is, when I say probably the perfect card that this deck could have ever gotten, the absolute perfect card, this is definitely very, very much potential for that. Just because, like, it's straight access into Vajrayana and a Phalanx into this card, and the fact that it just gets over virtually any threat in the Monarch and Cosmo matchup, and then it also negates extra effects, so it negates the floating Cosmo monster, it negates things that trigger Engrave, it negates things that trigger in hand. All these different factors go into this card being amazing, and the fact that it's 3k is also just huge. There are many situations where if you get the game down simplified enough through, like, just throwing your resources at Cosmo boards and stuff like that, and you get them down to where even if they still have more cards than you, but you plop a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon down and they can't clear it without using monster effects, you can just ride Crystal Wing for the game. It's actually very, very plausible for that to be an occurrence. But anyway, other level 8s, Scrap Dragon for generic removal. You can also turn it into a floater with red med, so having floating removal is pretty cool. Stardust Dragon for generic protection. Dragunity Knight Gadarg, and only 2 Vajrayanas. The Hieratic engine actually picks up a lot of slack going into level 8s, as well as the fact that you aren't going to be foreseeably summoning ducks more than like 2 times in a game anyway, because if your games are going longer than 3 and 4 turns, the longer the games go, the more to disadvantage you actually are put. And this extra deck is actually just incredibly tight, so I had to make a cut somewhere, and I realized that in all the games that I was playing, I was literally never touching the 3rd Vajrayana, and even the games that I was touching the 3rd Vajrayana in, I was still losing because they were going on long. The only time you ever need like 2 Vajrayana is if you have a very, very extensive combo, in which case you are actually trying to kill them that turn. Most of the time, most of these combos using the Hieratic engine, or with just the Dragunity engine of like just a Ravine Phalanx Mistleton, or a Ravine Phalanx Instant Fusion combo, or a Ravine Phalanx Garuda, they typically only involve using 1 Vajrayana during the combo anyway, so you do have 1 left over for a Ducks follow-up on the following turn if you need that to happen. The 3rd Vajrayana just was not coming up with how fast-paced this format is, and I can honestly see 2 Vajrayana just being the way forward from now on, depending on how this deck sort of shapes up as a rogue option. But anyway, for the Xyz pool, 1 Guy Dragon the Thundercharger, 1 number 39 Utopia Beyond to be an additional out to boards of big ships, and also you can just open up game shots against other random decks as well. If you like are dealing with a huge Pendulum Summon board that you need to crack, you can just make Utopia Beyond. It makes everything small. You can just start getting in lots of damage very quickly. Ptolemy M7, Bouncer for another effect negation. This is actually a very important card. I was considering cutting it, but there's a lot of situations where you play against specifically BA and against like Cosmo, where if they put up Infinity against, if you're playing against Cosmo and they put up Infinity boards, or if they have a hand that can go Tin Can into Dark Destroyer, if they have just like one of those hands where you know they have a looming Dark Destroyer in their hand, or they have Dark Lady on board, or Infinity on board, or something like that, or against BA if they have Beatrice on board, and you have a hand that can support Tefnuit into Sue, and then also have like a follow-up with a Ducks, then you can just go Tefnuit and Sue into a rank 6 and go into Bouncer, or you can, because you can't go straight into Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon off of that because that's not a non-tuner Synchro monster. So you go into Bouncer, and then that gives you a layer of protection for your play moving forward, because now you can just negate their Dark Lady, you can negate the Infinity negation, you can negate the Dark Destroyer pop, and stuff like that. So it's actually, this card's actually been very important, and the fact that it actually deals 1,000 damage is actually really cool as well, because if you have them to where they basically have to Dark Lady you and you have a Bouncer up, they're losing 2k and doing absolutely nothing. So Bouncer's just a really cool, just sort of, I guess, finisher, and also safety net, I guess I could describe it as. But anyway, 2 Atoms because this deck has the combo you can do, and then also just being able to loop into more cards because you have such a heavy Hieratic engine is pretty important. And then 1 Abyss Dweller because this deck can support making rank 4s because of Instant Fusion Norden, as well as many of the combos you can search Garuda in and use that with like Zephyros bouncing red med to make rank 4s mid combo as well. Basically any combo that you can end with a rank 6 on the board, you can almost always end with a rank 4 in place of that rank 6 without stepping it up through like Vajrayana access and stuff like that. So there's that. But anyway, side deck. I'm actually going to give you a side deck this time because I've actually thought it through. I was actually considering playing this deck at ARG Charlotte, but I've actually just decided to play a better option. But anyway, one Kokimari Drago. This card is actually really good, and I'm actually trying to find like a reason to just main it. I'm trying to justify maining this card because you can actually just like summon it out of your deck off of like a Tum, or do things where you add it and discard it off Gatorg and then red med it back. Like there's a lot of different like cool plays where you can just get this card out without having to dedicate your normal summon to it. But this card just is great against Cosmo, great against BA, somewhat decent against Monarchs, especially in mid to late game if they have to summon Primes from grave because it's treated as a light monster, as well as if they're trying to trigger Eidos from grave, it shuts down all of that. It's all really cool. So I'm trying to justify maining this card in a slot, but like it kind of turns like this side deck mostly orients the deck back into going first, because I was noticing a trend when I was playing with it that people in post-sided games will just let me go first. So I started siding out a lot of like my going second cards like Max C's and a couple copies of Tefnuit and stuff, and I was putting in Floodgates because this deck does have the time-honored like interaction of being able to just go summon Stardust, set Floodgate, attempt to win game. Like that's definitely something that has not changed. And so as you can see, my side deck is a lot of just generic blanket cards as well as a lot of Floodgates to kind of benefit from them just making me go second games 2 and 3, or making me go first games 2 and 3 rather, while my deck is built to blind first. But anyway, 2 Flying C's because I mean it's good against BA and it's good against a few other decks as well. 2 Dark Hole. There's generic wipes, the 3rd MST, and then for Floodgate Central, literally so many of my side deck cards, 9 of my side deck cards, 10 if you want to count Kokimari Drago. In fact, I'd even count Flying Sea as a pseudo Flood. It's a hand trap Flood, so like literally 12 cards out of my 15 card side deck is Floodgates. But anyway, Emptiness, triple Iron Wall, triple Anti-Spell, and 2 Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. I want to put Mask of Restrict in here. Maybe the Flying Seas and the Emptiness will come out for Mask of Restrict or something. I literally want to have a good solid Floodgate against literally every deck in the format playing with this deck, basically. But anyway, this deck, I really, really like it. I really like how it plays, simply because it is very combo-oriented, and it does have built-in outs in its engine to specific problems in the format. Like if you play against Domain Monarchs, if you're able to go Tefnuit Sue and have another Hieratic, or if you're even able to just access a Sue on board in a way and then use a Hieratic to pop, like it's fueling your engine as well as popping the domain, stuff like that. The fact that Max C just lets you get additional combo cards while you're trying to go second is very good for your game plan. Honestly, I wish the extra deck was a bit bigger than it is, but because there's like quite a few other cards I'd like to play. I'd actually like to play a Beatrice in here because there is an interaction as well, where if you have Tefnuit Sue plus Ravine going second with your opponent having a monster on board, you can go special Tefnuit, special Sue, get Labradorite Dragon, make Beatrice Zen Zephyros to grave, and then you play your Ravine and discard whatever other card you had in your hand, and then you just have Ravine Zephyros. Like that's actually like really cool, but there's actually just like no room that I could justify putting a Beatrice in here because you're playing the double Atums to just make the Hieratic engine more potent, and then because you're playing 2 Atums, you kind of have to play the Gaia Dragon, or else you're going to like just drop games to the fact that you have a body on board that cannot swing when your entire game plan is to try and kill them. So there's all these different things that come into play, but honestly, the one card I'm literally trying to justify putting in the main at all costs is Kokimari Drago, but there's literally so many cards in this deck that are like necessary to run, and for those of you that are going to ask why there's no second Mistleton, the Garuda's in here instead, because there are actually a lot of plays where it comes up where it's better than Mistleton, especially in like starting plays, whereas like if you have something like a Set Sue and Ravine, for example, a Set Sue Ravine with a Garuda access lets you dump Mistleton or Phalanx to grave and then banish it for Garuda, and that gives you the level 4 Winged Beast you need to turn your Hieratic combo into a Dragunity combo going into Gatorg with your Galaxy Serpent that you're going to be summoning off of your Tefnuit that gets tributed. Stuff like that. There's all these little niche things that come into play, but also the fact that this is a searchable level 4 that can special summon itself mid-combo. It's basically like the 4th instant fusion, essentially. It's basically that's sort of the logic they have to use with it. It's basically the exact same card as Mistleton, except it does suck up an extra Vajrayana out of your extra deck, but it does allow you searchable like rank 4 access mid-combo and stuff like that. It's just, everything in this deck has its purpose. Everything is very, very, I've basically been thinking like over and over of card choices on this deck, because it's something that I 100% want to get right whenever I play this at an event. If I do play at an event, there might be a regional coming up that I might play this at. Who knows? I don't know. It depends on how the format like further develops, whether or not this is the path to go. It basically depends on whether or not it's like reliable to be willing to constantly go second and expect to go second with every die roll. Stuff like that. The same sort of problems that plague the Mermail deck right now in terms of like its viability in the format currently plague this deck as well. But anyway, that's enough rambling I'm going to do for this video. I've given about as much of an explanation as I can think of what to give. If you guys have any other questions of stuff that I didn't cover, definitely ask them in the comments down below. But otherwise, that is going to be it for this video. Again, thank you to all of my 12,000 current subs. Thank you for the support. Thank you for everything that you have done to show your support in the past years and time frame that I've been making consistent content. And I will be continuing to make consistent content for the foreseeable future. But anyway, other than that, as always, guys, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the nonsense you usually do. If you want to support me, clicking ads on my videos and disabling ad block when you view them is more than sufficient. I cannot express how much it helps, nor how much it would be appreciated by myself if that's something you could take the time out of your day to do to help me out. But other than that, this has been an updated Dragunity deck profile for, again, the April 2016 Shining Victories format. And, as always, guys, take care.